Hey everyone, and welcome to the Ultimate Steam Deck Buyer's Guide. Today, we're going to go into everything you could need to know if you want to buy a Steam Deck, including what it is, what it can do, how it compares to the ROG Ally and other Windows devices in August of 2023, and even some accessories you might want. So let's get right into it. Alright, first things first. This is a video for those who are interested in buying a Steam Deck. It is intended to be for those who might not know what a Steam Deck is or what it can do. It will not be incredibly technical, and it won't have a lot of deep dive content like most of my other stuff. If you want a full in-depth review, please let me know in a comment down below. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. The first thing that we need to know is what the Steam Deck actually is. Essentially, it's a handheld computer created by video game company and Steam developer Valve that is designed to run games. Valve specifically made the deck to fill the gap between the PC and console markets, focusing on user experience and ease of use more than previous entries in the handheld PC market. To make a comparison, it's like if the Nintendo Switch and a gaming PC had a baby. It's a handheld device, making it possible to take with you on the train or plane, but it can be docked like a Switch as well, allowing you to use a TV, multiple monitors, keyboards, mice, headsets, etc. The next and most common question I get is, what can the Steam Deck do? Put simply, it can do anything that a regular computer can. While it was designed to play games, it runs a full desktop operating system, SteamOS, by default. SteamOS is Valve's take on a gaming-focused Linux distribution based off of Arch Linux, but simplified to ensure stability. This means that you can boot up a game, browse the web, watch Netflix or YouTube, or even use the Steam Deck for work. As a fun fact, I develop a tool for enhancing Steam Deck performance, Cryo Utilities, completely on the Steam Deck itself. In addition to coming with a full desktop OS, you can install any operating system that you want, including Windows. Valve has made Windows drivers for the Steam Deck available, so you can use a more familiar operating system if you so choose. So, when it comes down to it, the question, what can't the Steam Deck do, might be simpler. Next, let's take a look at what games it can play, starting with SteamOS. Using SteamOS, you can play most standard computer games that don't have anti-cheat, and even some that do. To put that into numbers, just the Steam store alone has over 50,000 games listed, and that's excluding many older PC games, or games on other storefronts, that would also work on the Steam Deck. If you want to know whether a game will work or not, you can look to three primary places: SDHQ, the Deck Verified program, and ProtonDB. If the game hasn't been released yet or it's brand new, then SDHQ is a great place to check first. They get early access to many new releases and test them specifically on the Steam Deck, and have covered nearly every major release in 2023, as well as many smaller titles. If a game hasn't been recently covered by SDHQ, or it's been out for a while, then you should check out the Deck Verified program. The Deck Verified program is an initiative run by Valve to test every game on the Steam store and give it a compatibility rating. At the time of writing, over 10,000 games have been verified, which is more than double the entire game library of the Nintendo Switch. Obviously, with such a massive library to comb through, Valve is fighting an uphill battle for compatibility, which is where ProtonDB comes in. ProtonDB is a similar concept to Deck Verified, but the compatibility ratings are user-sourced, so you get frequent updates and more ratings for games. If you want to know whether a given game will work on Steam Deck, I definitely recommend checking out protondb.com and searching the game. If you want more detail on Deck Verified or ProtonDB, be sure to let me know in the comments below, but this should suffice for now. As for anti-cheat games, that depends on whether the developers have added support for that game in particular. Some games like Elden Ring and Fall Guys work great on the deck, but some other popular games do not. Games like Call of Duty or Destiny 2 have not yet been updated to work on SteamOS, which is where Windows comes in. Using Windows, every game that works on Windows will work on the deck, although usability is a much different question and one for another day. On top of all the computer games you can play, the Steam Deck can also run most emulators at high settings, lending to a better than console experience for tons of console games. Suffice it to say, chances are good that a game will run on the Steam Deck. The next question I'm usually asked is about gaming performance. To avoid getting too technical, the Steam Deck runs a last generation AMD APU. and it can get performance similar to a PS4 or Xbox One. If you want to know exactly how well games run on the deck, I recommend checking out my playlist of deck dives, linked on screen now. In those videos, I find out the best settings for each game tested, and I show how I get to that conclusion so you can get there too. Highlights from that playlist are Breath of the Wild running with better graphics than the Nintendo Switch, Hogwarts Legacy running better than the PS4, Final Fantasy XIII running in 4K, and even Red Dead Redemption 2 running at full speed. All of that said, I want to make it clear that the Steam Deck is not a miracle machine. Some games like Returnal can struggle to run, and most games won't run on maximum settings. How well a game runs depends on how well it's optimized. It's really rare that a game won't run at all, but it might be rough to get it to a playable frame rate if it's not optimized that well. The only games I've seen thus far that fall in this camp are a few AAA games from 2023, but they're usually playable at a decent frame rate within a few months of release after patches are out. Something that I think is very overlooked on the Steam Deck despite being one of the main selling points is the ability to suspend and resume games at any time. Just like the Switch, you can simply press the power button and the game will pause exactly where it is. Press the power button again and you'll be right where you left it, with the obvious exception of online multiplayer, same as the Switch. This is something that no other PC handheld can do, not even the ROG Ally, and it allows busy adults to make progress in games much easier. On other handhelds, you usually need to wake it up, boot the game, load your save, and then play. But on the Steam Deck, you just need to wake it up and you're right back in, even saving you time by not forcing you to save before putting it to sleep. Next, let's cover the 3 different models of the Steam Deck. There are 3 price points: the 64GB $399 model, the 256GB $529 model, and the 512GB $649 model. The first thing I want to say is that gaming performance across all 3 models is identical in almost every game. Yes, you heard that right. All 3 models are identical in gaming. The only difference are between day-to-day usability from extra storage and the screen. Starting at the $399 model, you can get the Steam Deck with a standard screen and a 64GB eMMC drive along with a carrying case. Next, the $529 model gives you the Steam Deck with a standard screen and a faster 256GB SSD, along with the same carrying case and some digital goodies. Lastly, the $649 model gives you the Steam Deck with an etched anti-glare screen, a really fast 512GB SSD, a fancier carrying case, and even more digital goodies. If you'd like to know more about the exact differences between each Steam Deck's drive, I definitely recommend checking out this video where I check each default Steam Deck drive in addition to an upgrade and a microSD for performance in gaming, load times, and more. The next thing that you need to know is Valve's commitment to repairability and user serviceability for the Steam Deck. Valve has partnered with right-to-repair giant iFixit to provide thorough instructions for repairing the Steam Deck, as well as a shop to buy almost every single part that goes into making one. This means that barring damage to the main board itself, the deck can be repaired by anyone with a relatively basic set of tools. The internals of the deck itself are largely modular, allowing you to swap out one analog stick or one button easily, with only the battery and screen being glued down and more difficult to remove. This also means that the storage in every model of Steam Deck can be very easily upgraded. It's very common to buy the base level of Steam Deck and then upgrade the storage on your own to save some money. You can even do this with the screen if you prefer the etched anti-glare screen over the stock one later on. In addition to excellent user serviceability, Valve's support team is amazing and has been great at supporting owners of the deck, going above and beyond regularly. I've heard many instances of things that were in a gray area of warranty being covered, at worst charging at cost for the fixes necessary, all by the stellar support team. Tangentially related to upgradability and repairability is customization and tweakability. SteamOS is a modified version of Arch Linux, which gives users a ton of control, but only if they want it. If you're interested in getting maximum performance with overclocking, making it into an emulation powerhouse with EmuDeck, trying to get the most out of the battery with undervolting, or even using the deck as your primary work machine, you can do that. And that brings me to one of the biggest benefits of the Steam Deck over any other device I've seen: the community. Dozens of YouTube channels, subreddits, Discord servers, community-developed tools, and users in love with the Steam Deck have led to an absolutely phenomenal community. If you have a problem with the deck, somebody can undoubtedly help you with it in one of the many Discord servers or on Reddit. If you want a specific piece of software for the deck, it likely already exists, or it will be developed by somebody in the community. If you wish that a game out there was working just a bit better, someone's probably already figured out how to do it. The community is an often overlooked and insanely valuable part of device ownership, so this is a huge boon for the deck. Now that you know most of what you need to know about the deck itself, I figured now would be a good time to go over some common accessories, starting with the microSD card, which is a way to add a lot of storage to your deck very easily. The Steam Deck has a microSD slot in the bottom, and you can basically use them like you would a cartridge in a Nintendo console, swapping them to load a different set of games onto the deck at will. I personally use the Samsung Evo Select drives, affiliate link in the description below, because they are the maximum speed that the deck can handle and are reasonably priced. Next, I recommend a dock, which allows the deck to be hooked up to external storage, displays, peripherals, and more. Valve makes an official dock, which is a bit pricey and doesn't fit if you have a case on your deck, but it's pretty solid overall and allows firmware updates. I actually recommend a third-party dock if you're on a budget or have a special need. The upgraded iVolar dock is only about half the price of the official dock, but it's largely identical and can accept cases, whereas the JSOX M.2 dock is much more expensive, but provides a full-size 2280 M.2 slot for fast external storage. If you're interested in any of the docks I just mentioned, plus one more, I have a video on screen now, testing things like network latency, input latency, etc. If you're a tinkerer and don't mind opening the deck up, then you should definitely take a look at the JSOX vented backplate and/or the Honeywell PTM 7950 pad. If you want a full in-depth review, then I definitely recommend checking out my last video, but suffice it to say that it makes a world of difference for both temperatures and fan noise. Lastly for this section, I recommend a case. I personally have two of the JSOX mod case, which is very comfortable to hold, includes a mounting mechanism for accessories, and protects the deck from dings and scuffs during daily use. It also allows me to put a cover on the front of the screen and makes it easier to pack into a bag without a carrying case. Do note that it nullifies the extra cooling capabilities of the JSOX vented backplate though. As before, there's an affiliate link in the description if you're interested. Alright, let's move on to how the Steam Deck compares with the Asus ROG Ally. While I don't have the Ally itself, I've talked with many friends and seen many reviews on it, so I'm very familiar with the pros and cons of each device. The pros of the Steam Deck over the ROG Ally are a better user experience, more cohesive software, very console-like set and forget, suspend and resume any game, a much cheaper entry price, more ergonomic, an incredible community, trackpads allow for greater game compatibility, more buttons including 2 additional back paddles and a home button, Valve's support team, better repairability, and better low wattage performance, which leads to a much better battery life overall. The pros of the ROG Ally over the Steam Deck are better overall performance, a much better screen, which is 1080p, 120Hz, and FreeSync, a higher wattage ceiling, a more familiar OS coming out of the box with Windows, a quieter fan, access to Game Pass games, it's smaller and lighter, it can run anti-cheat games out of the box, you can buy it in-store at Best Buys in the US, and support for external GPUs, although they are pretty pricey. Of course, size, weight, and aesthetics are all subjective, but these are the largely agreed upon merits of each device. The Ally is definitely a good choice if you'd rather have better performance out of the box, want a nicer screen, or if the deck is too large and heavy for you. On the other hand, the Steam Deck is definitely more refined and has a lot more attention put into the user experience, as well as better tweakability and customization from the get-go. I'm also a firm believer that the Steam Deck will last longer. Unfortunately, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the elephant in the room with the ROG Ally. As of the time of filming in August 2023, Asus is not exactly in the good graces of many customers. In the past few years, they've had several scandals in their PC parts division, enough that at least one prominent YouTuber has dropped them as a sponsor completely. The issues have historically been bad hardware design or manufacturing defects that Asus has decided not to cover under warranty, at least until heavily criticized by the media. The reason I bring this up is because the Ally is currently experiencing a hardware design flaw that is destroying microSD cards by overheating. In addition to that, they have numerous quality control issues being reported by the public. What Asus is doing to recover from this, or what they will, is well beyond the scope of this video, but I will leave some links down below of some reports that I've seen about the Ally. Hopefully Asus comes through and corrects the issue, but I could not release this comparison video in good faith without disclosing those problems. Alright, and with that, I think I've covered everything I wanted to in this video. Please let me know down below in a comment if it's helped you. A few weeks ago, a friend actually asked me what the Steam Deck was and what it did, and I couldn't find any good single source of truth for it, especially made this year. So I decided to make this video and hopefully help some other people out as well. With that said, of course, thank you to all of my patrons, super thanks, and YouTube members for helping make this content possible. If you've gotten this far, you might want to check out this video where I test 5 different drives in the Steam Deck and find out exactly what performance implications there are between each, letting you know which model you might want to buy, or if you want to upgrade the SSD. And as always, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.